On paper, this couple looks completely set. They're 73 years old. They've saved $1.85 million. They stayed invested. They did not overspend. They followed all the rules. Now, if most people looked at their balance sheet, well, they'd say something like, "You're fine, you made it. The hard part is over." But this year, one number silently arrives and changes the direction of their entire retirement. A $65,000 required minimum distribution. And here's what makes that so frustrating. They didn't want the money. They didn't need the money. They weren't planning to increase their spending. But here they are, forced to take income at the worst possible time. That single withdrawal didn't just raise their tax bill, it triggered a chain reaction. Now, more of their Social Security became taxable. Their Medicare premiums moved higher. Their flexibility permanently shrank. Nothing went wrong, but suddenly, retirement felt a lot tighter. And this is exactly how RMDs catch people off guard. Hi, I'm Mark Wisniewski, president of Southern Incomes. I help retirees turn their life savings into clear, tax-efficient retirement income and avoid hidden traps that don't show up until you're in your 70s. If you find this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. And if that sounds relevant to you, here's what most retirees don't see coming. Because in retirement, the biggest risks aren't always market crashes. Sometimes it's one forced withdrawal that quietly breaks the plan. Part 1. Why this $65,000 RMD exists in the first place. Required minimum distributions aren't a punishment. They're the IRS's way of saying, you've deferred taxes long enough. Now it's time to start bringing that money back and put it on your tax return. At age 73, retirees must withdraw a specific percentage from their tax-deferred accounts. In this case, a $1.85 million balance produces roughly a $65,000 required withdrawal. That money is also taxed as ordinary income. Whether you need it or not, whether you plan for it or not, whether it's tax efficient for you or not. And that lack of choice is where the trouble really begins. Part 2. The real issue isn't the RMD, it's what stacks on top of it. Most retirees don't rely on just one income source. By age 73, income often includes, well, Social Security, the RMDs, interest, dividends, possibly a pension. These income streams don't exist independently, they stack on top of each other. So that $65,000 RMD doesn't show up silently, it piles on top of your Social Security benefits, other taxable income, and what felt like a reasonable income level suddenly pushes them into a much higher tax situation. Not because they changed their lifestyle, but because income was forced at the wrong time. Part 3. How one RMD increases the tax on your Social Security. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of retirement taxes. Social Security isn't taxed like wages. The more income you stack on top of it, the more your Social Security becomes taxable. So that $65,000 RMD doesn't just add $65,000 of income, it can cause a larger portion of Social Security to be taxed, increase the effective tax rate on all your income. So retirees often ask, why did my tax bill jump so much this year? The answer is usually one required distribution that triggered everything else. Part 4. The Medicare premium problem most retirees never see coming. Here's the part that really surprises people. Medicare premiums aren't based on what you earn this year. They're based on income from 2 years ago. So this $65,000 RMD doesn't just affect today's tax return, it can increase Medicare Part B premiums, increase Part D premiums, lock in higher healthcare costs for an entire year. And these increases don't show up neatly on some tax form. They show up as monthly deductions from your Social Security. Most retirees don't connect the dots until they see their check already start to shrink. Part 5, why net worth doesn't warn you that this is coming. This is where the frustration really starts to set in. Net worth looks strong. $1.85 million still feels like plenty, but net worth doesn't show forced income in future years. Tax brackets being filled automatically. Medicare thresholds being crossed. So retirees, they feel blindsided. They didn't overspend. They didn't make a bad investment. They didn't ignore advice. They simply didn't realize how powerful forced income becomes later on in your retirement. Part 6, why this gets worse over time, not better. Here's the dangerous part. RMDs don't stay the same. If markets cooperate even modestly, required withdrawals usually increase every single year. That means more taxable income, more pressure on Social Security taxation, greater Medicare exposure. By their late 70s and early 80s, many retirees find themselves taking way more income than they want, paying more tax than they expected, losing flexibility they assumed they'd always have. This isn't a one-year issue. It's a compounding one. Part 7, why, well, I'll just reinvest the RMD, doesn't fix the problem. A common response is, well, I don't need the RMD, I'll reinvest it. That does not solve the issue. The tax already happened. Once income is forced out, it's taxable. It affects Medicare. It changes future planning decisions. I guess reinvesting can help with growth, but it does not undo the damage caused by forced income at the wrong time. The real mistake isn't what retirees do after the RMD. It's not planning for it years earlier. Part 8. The deeper lesson this $65,000 RMD reveals. Let's look at this. This couple did not fail. They saved consistently. They invested responsibly. They delayed gratification for decades. The problem isn't discipline. The problem is that most retirement plans are built with one phase in mind: accumulation. They focus on growing balances, managing that market risk, building net worth. But RMDs, they expose what happens when a plan doesn't fully account for the distribution phase. At age 73, the IRS, not the retiree, starts calling the shots. How much income is going to come out, when it comes out, how it's going to show up on your tax return. That loss of control is what really hurts, because retirement isn't just about having money. It's about having options to control your taxable income, smooth out taxes over time, manage your healthcare costs, adjust spending without panicking. A $65,000 RMD, it's a reminder that timing matters just as much as those account totals. It shows that saving well really isn't enough by itself. You also need to plan for how money exits your accounts, not just how it grows inside them. That's why the best time to address RMD risk is before age 73, often many years before. Once RMDs begin, many of the best planning opportunities are already gone. Here's the bigger takeaway. This couple did not lose money in the market. They didn't make some reckless decision. They didn't suddenly just start spending irresponsibly. They ran into a rule that was never fully planned for. And this is why retirement planning doesn't end when you stop working. In many ways, that's when it really becomes more important. If you're in your 60s or already in your early 70s and you have not mapped out how RMDs, Social Security, taxes, Medicare premiums all interact together, your plan may still look solid on paper while silently working against you. If you want help building a retirement income plan that anticipates RMDs before they become a problem, coordinates withdrawals with tax brackets, manages Medicare premium exposure, preserves flexibility as you age. You can book a time with me using the link in the description. There's no obligation, just a conversation to see whether your retirement plan is positioned to work with the rules or whether one forced withdrawal could quietly change everything. They were 73 with $1.85 million, and one $65,000 RMD changed the entire picture. The goal here is to make sure it doesn't change yours.